Hello back everybody. Welcome to the microprocessors and microcontrollers lecture series, lecture number 15. In our last class, we have seen the recapitulation of last few lectures, which included the physical memory organization, okay, and all the signal descriptions, interrupts. So today we will move on to our next topic, but again we will touch down the interrupts topic of brief, then we will continue in discussing the instruction formats of 8086 assembly language instructions. Let us continue by talking about the interrupts. It's a condition in which causes the microprocessor to stop its current program of execution and service something which is of more importance. Okay, the processor has to stop its main program, go to the interrupting devices service routine, execute that one, and then switch back to the main program. So we have seen the types of interrupts, hardware and software. Hardware 2 interrupts are there. In software there are 256 interrupts are there. Few of them are dedicated, designed already, and a few else are reserved for the programmer to define itself. So these are the dedicated interrupts I was talking about. So these interrupts have fixed, defined in the processor system. Okay. That means int 0 will be a divide by 0 error interrupt only. Similarly, int 1 will be a single step interrupt, and so on. And all these interrupts int 5 to int 255, they are user defined. The programmer can be defined it. They are also reserved for the future purpose by the manufacturers also. So in that case, two of the reserved interrupts are there with us, DOS and BIOS interrupts. You can see that int 10 and int 21H are the reserved interrupts. They have been defined by that DOS and BIOS respectively. So we have discussed all the types of interrupts in detail here, all the dedicated ones. Okay. So this is a process. The interrupt breaks the main flow of the program. The processor goes and does this job, that it pushes the flag, CS and IP content of its main program onto the stack memory, then go to the interrupt service routine, execute that interrupt service routine. At the end, in the interrupt service routine, IRET instruction will be there, return from interrupt. On executing that one, it will again bring back the flag status and the CS IP of the main program and switches to the main program, exactly point from where it has left, and continue from there. So this is the flow. We have seen this flow, similar to what we have seen in earlier slide. So this particular table or this particular part of memory is called as interrupt vector table. It is called interrupt vector table. It contains the addresses of all the interrupt service routines. So basically it's a part of memory which contains the addresses of ISR. Okay, and what is ISR? It's an interrupt service routine. Every software interrupt is associated with the interrupt service routine of its own. Okay, interrupt service routine is a set of instructions, a program written that has to be executed upon that interrupt whenever it is called. So if particular interrupt X is called, its interrupt service routine has to be executed upon that call. This is the way we can calculate the location of the ISR address in the interrupt vector table from having the knowledge about the only interrupt number. For example, here if the interrupt number is 2 into 2, for that one its offset address, the IP value and its segment address CS value will be located in the interrupt vector table from this calculation. So to take the interrupt number, multiply that one by 4, it will give you the location of offset address, which can be copied into IP register, and 2 bytes ahead of it, plus 2 if you do it, we will reach to the CS address, that is segment address of that particular interrupt service routine. So you can see from this explanation also here, at the earlier locations for int 0, suppose 0 and 1, these two locations bytes contains the offset address which has to be copied in IP register, and next 2 bytes. So 0 plus 2, when you do 2, here it contains the CS content, that means segment address which can be copied into CS register for that particular interrupt service routine. We know that interrupt service routines are also programmed, they are code. So when the processor has to execute that one, the processor has to go and fetch that instructions into the processor. So how it will fetch it? It will fetch because IP register points to the instructions and CS register holds the base address of that code area where the program is stored. So wherever the ISR is stored, its physical address is being calculated by these two, CS and IP. For int 0, it is located here. For int 2, it will be located at the addresses 00008, and that will be containing the offset address, and a 0000A will be containing the segment address. Okay, A is that hexadecimal A is equivalent to 10 decimal. So it contains the segment address of that corresponding ISR of int 2. So we have seen this steps procedure also. What exactly happens into the processor at the time of interrupt? So when the interrupt is being triggered, first thing the processor will do is that its current program status, that means which all the instructions are executed so far is done, but what next to be executed in the main program, its address will be saved down to the stack memory. The address of the next instruction to be executed is always pointed by the IP register, and the segment address will be there in CS. So IP register content and CS register content, both this content will be stored onto the stack memory. It will be saved on the stack memory such that after satisfying the interrupt, when the processor comes back to the main program, it can retrieve the physical address of the next instruction to be executed in the main program from that CS and IP. Along with this one, it also stores the flag status, current flag status. In the main program, the current flag status, whatever it is there, that also will be saved along with the CS IP content into the stack memory. And after the interrupt is serviced, when coming back, it will also take the status of the flag copied back onto the flag register. Okay, and obviously the stack memory structure we will see as we progress into the course. While talking about the instruction set and few programs when we will discuss, we'll see exactly how the stack memory is and why it is written that the stack memory has to be decremented by 2 here. Okay, after saying, because the stack memory is that I have already talked about the stack memory is that it is first in last out. So first you put that one something into that one stack memory. The stack pointer will be pointing to that current top of it. Next time when you want to put the next data, the stack memory, the stack pointer has to decrement itself by 2 bytes because it has to point to the next address. Okay. Generally 1 byte, but as the CS, IP and flag register are 16-bit format, the 2 bytes increment and decrement has to be done. In this case, the decrement, because the stack in 8086 is top bottom. Okay, the addresses will be stored higher addresses first, then the lower addresses. And these are the few instructions which are associated with the interrupt in the 8086. So we have talked about the interrupt flag IF. So to set or reset, it's a programmable, that means the interrupt flag is programmable and can be controlled by writing some program instruction. Okay, so we can put a 0 or a 1 according to what the programmer's requirement is by using these two instructions, CLI and STI. CLI will make that interrupt flag as 0 and STI will make the interrupt flag as 1. Now these two particular instructions written inside this red block are specifically used when working with the interrupt service routines. So if the program execution will jump to the interrupt service routine execution upon seeing the int n. The n can be anything 0 to 255. Upon seeing this, the program execution will stop the main program and jump to the interrupt service routine. After executing the interrupt service routine, every interrupt service routine will end with IRET. It is return from interrupt. So on executing this one, the processor execution will come back to the original main program and execution of the main program continues from there. So these two are associated with the execution of going inside the interrupt service routine and coming out of the interrupt service routine. This will take that program execution into the interrupt service routine, and this will take out the program execution from the interrupt service routine back to the main program. Okay, next is INTO, another instruction there. If it is for overflow interrupt, it can be called as INTO or into 4. Halt and wait. Wait, obviously, we have seen earlier also while discussing the test pin in the pin diagram of the 8086, that whenever the program executes this particular instruction, wait, the program will go into the waiting state and it will be revoked from the waiting state only upon receiving a test signal low into the hardware of the 8086. And what happens upon reset? The reset will clear all the internal registers, including the ALU and flag and all the segment registers, IP register, except the CS register. So basically, upon reset, the processor will have the CS value and this IP value. So physical address, what it will be pointing is this particular thing, that is FFFF0H will be pointed by the processor upon reset. Why it is done? So it is done intentionally such that earlier we have seen that the interrupt vector table lies at the lowest addresses. The lowest 1 kilobyte of memory in the 8086 system, it is reserved for the interrupt vector table. So upon reset, by default, if we make the CS also 0000, so CS is all zeros, IP is all zero, the physical address 20-bit will also be all zeros. That time it will be by default going into the interrupt vector table. That is not required here. So to avoid that type of a thing, CS is made FFFF and IP is made 0000. So upon reset, the processor execution will not go into the interrupt vector table, but instead it will be pointing to the topmost 16 locations of the memory. Okay, why I'm saying topmost 16 locations? When I have the physical address starting at this FFFF0, from there to reach the maximum address possible in the 8086 system is FFFF. So we have it FFFF0. So from there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on up to A, B, C, D, E, F. So these 16 top locations or the top addresses, which each one contain 1 byte, will be accessible upon reset. Okay. Basically, that one address FFFF0 will be accessible, but further when we auto increment that one, it will reach up to the top of it and then stop it. So according to the program written after the reset, the CS and IP can be modified accordingly, and routine programming can go on. So today specifically we'll be talking about the instruction formats in the 8086 assembly language programming. Okay, after that, if the time permits us, we will be also checking the addressing modes of 8086. So first let us talk about the instruction formats in 8086. Now if you can remember, in the programming model we have seen the 8086 assembly language program structure. Okay, so each line in the program is either assembly directive or instruction. We will not care about the assembly directive right now. We'll be talking about the assembly directives later on when we're seeing some example programs, but today our concern is about the instruction. So suppose I am putting some data into some register, or if I am adding two numbers, so what I write into that program is called as an instruction. Instruction is basically some task or a action or operation given to the processor to be performed. So moving a data can be one thing, adding a data can be another thing, multiplying it, shifting the data, performing any sort of arithmetic and logical operations, performing the string operations upon the string. Every such type of thing is called as an instruction. Instruction set of 8086, which we will be talking and checking out into our next lecture. In today we will see how their formats are available, how exactly structure of an instruction looks. Okay, so let us see that one. So general instruction format, you can see it contains two fields. There are two parts into the given instruction. The first part of the instruction is called as opcode. Earlier in the previous class, I have given you the understanding about this word, that is a machine code, binary code for an instruction. So if I am writing some add, something, so what to add, I am writing next. But what exactly add and how that add is understood by the processor, it is an machine translation of that one will be done. A binary equivalent of that ADD will be having into the processor's knowledge. So that particular thing we called as an opcode. So opcode is an operation code. Exactly what operation you are performing, whether it be a move, you are adding it, you are subtracting it, you are incrementing it, you are shifting it. All such operations will be coded in a binary. So opcode is the code of that operation. Okay, code of that operation. Always the operation will be followed by operands. So you are telling the operation to be performed, but upon what it has to be performed. Okay, it has to be performed upon a operands. Suppose I am telling you to add two numbers. So add is the operation I am telling you, but what numbers it has to add, that numbers are called as operands of it. Okay, so opcode identifies the action to be taken, and operands identifies the data to be operated upon. Okay, upon what data it has to be operated. from few examples of the instructions from the 8086 have been given here. It is move AX comma BX. So that is something there in BX which we want to move into AX. So the structure also you have to remember here, operation and the operands, and operands also generally many times requires a direction, that what is the source of that operation operand and where that operation operand will end up, destination. So the general structure will be that we write move, which is an operation which will be having an opcode followed by two operands. Out of that two operands also, in general, the first operand will be the destination, the second operand will be the source. So here in this case, AX is the destination and BX is the source. So something from the BX register will be moved into the AX register in this case. Similar is the another instruction example given here, add AX comma BX. Here the content what is there in the BX will be added to the content what is there in AX. Okay, so content of AX will be added with the content of BX. Now all the instructions of 8086 are called as mnemonics. The name of the instruction what is generally used, they are called mnemonics. They are the English mnemonics simplified for the English words of their meaning. Suppose move is there, MOVE. So instead of writing MOVE, we will write a mnemonic MOV. It makes our understanding very simple that it is a move operation, and also obviously the 8086 cannot understand this mnemonics. Assembler will do the translation of this into the operation codes. Okay, so this MOV will be translated into the operation code of its thing according to the assembler translation. So assembler translates this mnemonics into the binary codes. Okay, assembler translates mnemonics into the binary codes which are called as opcodes. So about the instruction formats we have to understand is that a machine language instruction format has more than one number of fields. Earlier in the general format indication, in this I have shown you that there are two fields. One is opcode, another is a operand. But to be more specific, there can be more than one field, or sometimes I can say that more than two fields. In general, there are two fields, that is operation and operand. So the first field is called as an operation field or opcode field. Okay, it indicates the type of operation has to be performed by the CPU. The second field is called as an operand field, and the operand field will be having the data upon which that operation has to be performed. The length of the instruction may vary. It can be a 1-byte instruction where only the opcode will be there and no operands will be there, because some of the operands are implied. For an example, earlier I have shown you that CLI and STI. So those instructions CLI or STI are the CLI and STI alone. There is nothing written before and after that one. So that CLI is one of the example of the CLI is one of the examples of the 1 byte of an instruction where it is called as the operands are implied. You need not to specify the further operands next after writing the operation. So operands are by default implied there. So CLI means it has to clear. But what it has to clear? It has to clear the interrupt flag. Okay, for an example, CLI, right? So this is the 1 byte instruction format, which sometimes does not have to have any operand fields, because operands in that type of instructions will be by default implied. The processor knows what it has to do. Okay, without you telling that where, what and which operation it has to conduct on what thing. Okay, so the instruction opcode itself will contain every information required. Now, as I said, the length of the instructions may vary. It can be 1 byte, 2 byte, 3 byte, 4 byte, 5 byte, or 6 bytes. Maximum 8086 instructions length will be up to 6 bytes. Okay, 6 byte long the instructions could be in 8086. Now, this is one more reason for having a 6 byte instruction queue in the bus interface unit of 8086. If you can remember in the architecture discussion of 8086, in the bus interface unit, one of the important module is instruction queue. The job of the instruction queue is to prefetch the instructions into the processor such that it can be decoded and executed by the execution unit. Now, why exactly we have a 6 byte size of the instruction queue in the bus interface unit? It is because that instructions of 8086 can have a variable length. It can be a 1 byte, 2 byte, but maximum the instruction length in 8086 will be up to 6 bytes. So this is the reason that the bus interface unit contains a 6 byte of instruction queue. Okay. So there are some general formats of these instructions available that we'll be going to check it now. It has 6 general formats of instructions in 8086 instruction set. So different instructions are there. Their formats also are different. Okay, there is no dedicated specified thing as I shown you in the earlier example. That's a general example, very good to understand. But to be more specific, the instruction formats in 8086 are variable length and different types are there. So what all those are there? There are 6 specific formats which we'll be using in our programming. So all those formats, we will check it out in our next slide now. But before going into that one, again another thing is there with us that the operational code, opcode structure. Opcode is also 1 byte length. 1 byte is the size of an opcode. That 1 byte again has 3 different fields specifically, and you can find that one here. Opcode of an instruction will be there up to 6 bits. Then it will be followed by 2 bits. One is called as a bit D and another is called as bit W. So what is these things? We will check it out. The opcode, this byte is always present in each instruction. This is a mandatory field. Every instruction has an opcode field, first byte thing. So that is why the minimum size of the instruction formats, it is that 1 byte in length it will be. So by default, at least the instruction size will be of 1 byte. That 1 byte is particularly opcode byte. So opcode byte, again it is, as it is 1 byte, 8 bits are there in that one. That 8 bits are classified or partitioned into 3 fields, 3 subfields of it. The 3 subfields are opcode of the instruction, which is of 6 bit long, followed by 1 bit D and 1 bit W. Okay, what is this 1 bit D and what is this 1 bit W? We will check into our next slide before going into the 6 general formats of instructions. So here you find that W bit and D bit. So most of the opcodes in 8086 contain 1 bit indicators. W and D are examples of such type of 1 bit special indicators. But instead of this W and D, few more indicators will be there, which are not that much importance of to us for understanding the instruction formats. That's why I did not mention them here. Otherwise, you can always check that one into the study material provided after the class. That S bit will be there, V bit will be there, and Z bit also will be there, along with this W and D. But our concentration will be upon these 2 bits because they mean a lot. So let us talk about the W bit. So W bit is an here something in which the instruction of the 8086 can perform an 8-bit operation or 16-bit operation. Many times we have discussed about this one. About the programming model also, when we have talked about, we have seen that the 8086 can perform a 16-bit operation by taking 2 bytes each from the even bank and odd bank, and sometimes can perform only 8-bit operation by taking a byte from even bank or the odd bank. So, so this W bit in the instruction will tell the assembler that this particular instruction wants to do a 8-bit operation or 16-bit operation. Basically, W stands for word here. Word is nothing but 2 bytes. So when this W bit is 0, that means it is not a word, it is a byte. When the W bit is 1, that means it is a word. So operation, whether it is a byte operation or a word operation, will be indicated by this W bit. Okay. So if the W bit is 0, the operation is of a byte operation. That means operand's size will be a 8-bit. When the W bit is 1, the operand's size will be 16 bits. Now, another important bit in this one is this D bit. The D bit of the opcode in the instruction indicates that the register REG, there is one field followed into the instruction. This REG, I'll tell you next if you just remember this REG. So this tells the assembler that while the assembler is translating the instructions into the binaries, when it sees this D bit, the D bit indicator will be telling that whether this REG will be a source or a destination. Okay, So when this D stands for destination basically here. When this D is 0, this REG field will be a source. Okay, but when this D is 1, that REG field will be a destination. So what is that REG field? Before we go into further, we have to understand that. And that we will be checking out into our instruction formats listing. REG field. Okay, remember this. Opcode and operand bytes may be followed sometimes. As we have seen in the general instruction format. So when you see this general instruction format, it shows only two fields, opcode field and operand field. But sometimes opcode and operand field may follow by few more bytes or fields. They can be either there will be no additional byte, only opcode and operand field. Another thing can be, it can be 1 or 2 bytes of immediate operand. Sometimes we will write the operation, the destination register, and then the direct operand, a number. Suppose for an example of addition, earlier we have seen that addition AX comma BX, add AX comma BX. So here both of the operands I am taking register. But sometimes I can take one operand as a register, the destination one, and the source another data, the raw data, immediate data, I can take it. So such type of things will have a 1 byte or a 2 byte of immediate operand, immediate data, which has to be operated directly without storing that one into any of the internal registers earlier. Okay. Another format can have a 2 byte of effective address. EA stands for effective address. So in some of the instruction formats, we may find 2 bytes of effective address will be there, and that applies only for the direct addressing mode. So direct addressing is addressing mode is one of the addressing modes of 8086. About the different addressing modes, we'll understand as we progress into the course. As for now, you have to take them as it is that if the instruction contains some address, okay, that address we call as an effective address. In the direct addressing mode, that effective address will be of either 1 byte or 2 bytes. Okay. Next is that the instruction may have a 1 byte or 2 byte displacement number. Okay. And sometimes the instruction may have a 1 byte or 2 byte displacement number followed by 1 or 2 byte of immediate operand. Okay. And this indicates you the different sizes of the instructions actually. So the first one tells that only operation and opcode is there. So that time the size of the instruction could be either 1 byte if only opcode is there without the operands, because sometimes the operands are implied as I said you. So it can be a 1 byte instruction, or in the first example given it can be a maximum of 2 byte instruction. In the second thing given here that it can be a 2 byte instruction or 3 byte instruction depending upon 1 or 2 bytes of immediate data. Okay. When the 2 bytes of effective address is there, again it can be a 1 byte instruction, 2 byte instruction or 3 byte instruction, depending upon whether the effective address is of 2 byte and whether the other operand is either a 1 byte or 2 byte. 1 or 2 byte of displacement could also be there in the instruction given. What exactly the displacement is, as I'll show you the examples, it will be clear to you. Sometimes there will be 1 or 2 byte of displacement along with the 1 or 2 byte of immediate operand. Okay. And sometimes there could be a 2 byte of displacement and a 2 byte of segment address, which applies into one particular addressing mode called as direct inter-segment addressing mode. So what all these different addressing modes are there, slowly you will understand. So let us start by discussing the types, 6 general types of instruction formats. So these are the different instruction formats. These all we have categorized into 6 types. So first one you can see, read there, it's a 1 byte instruction, only opcode is there. Here the operands are implied. Implied means the opcode itself will give the information about the operand also. Okay. Some other type will be opcode followed by the register. For an example, here I can give you one instruction called as INC and AX. Suppose it's INC stands for increment and AX is a register. INC AX means increment register AX. That means whatever is there into the AX register should be incremented by one quantity. So here in this you can see that opcode is there, increment, and the register field AX will be there. Okay. So this REG field, okay, whether this REG field is a destination or source, that can be indicated by the bit D. Earlier we have seen the bit D. Okay, so bit D talks about whether the REG field given in the instruction will be a source register or the destination register. So when that bit D is 0, this REG field will be acting as a source, and when this bit D is 1, this REG field will be acting as a destination. D stands for destination, W stands for word. So when the word is 0, it's a byte operation. When the D is 0, it's a register is a source. When the D is 1, register is destination. Similarly, when the word W is 0, it's a byte operation. When the W is 1, it's a word operation. So these all are different instruction formats are available to us. You can notice that every format, when you consider, it has the opcode as the first field. Definitely first field by default it is opcode. Second field onwards the things are changing. In this third particular example, register to register type of instruction format, here it is given one opcode is there followed by another byte. This byte again has 3 fields. So first field in this byte is called as mode. Mode is in this particular example is 11. You can see this mode here, MOD. That mode in this register to register thing, it is 11. Why it is so, how it is so, we'll check it. And the next 2 fields are REG and R/M. REG stands for a register, whereas R/M is either register or the memory address. Because always the operations in the 8086 will do the operations upon operand. The operand could be available either immediate, raw data, directly given in the instruction, not pre-stored neither in the register nor in the memory. And other sometimes the data could be in the registers. So that time this REG field will come into picture. Sometimes your data may be in the memory. So that time this R/M field will come into picture. R/M means register or memory. So the data could be in register or could be in the memory. So where exactly it will be there, these all different formats will tell us. So in this particular example here, the register, the data operation here it is telling about register 2 from memory with the displacement. Then next 2 are the same thing. Register 2 or from memory. The data operation is register 2 or from memory with the displacement. In this, displacement is of only 1 byte, and here the displacement is of 2 bytes. When it is 2 bytes, 1 byte of lower displacement and 1 byte of higher displacement will be there. Okay, and the next 2 also, so on. So one by one, group wise group, we will check it out what all these different instruction formats are. So the first group here, it is a 1 byte instruction. Here the size of the whole instruction is only 1 byte. Okay, either it can be 1 byte pure opcode which contains 6 bit of opcode, 1 bit of D and W. Some cases, as I said, some other bits may also appear such as S, V or Z. So here the operands are implied. The particular separate indication of this is operand need not to be maintained. The processor will understand itself that what operand it has to operate upon. Okay, in this format only 1 byte long instruction may be there, and here we have an implicit data or the register which are operand. Implicit means the processor knows about it by seeing the operation itself. The least 3 bits of the opcode are used to specify the register operand in the second case. Okay, least 3 bits. So here REG. REG field is a 3-bit code, and all the registers of 8086 are given with a 3-bit code. Okay, all register of 8086 are given with a 3-bit of code. Whole table we will see where the code of each register you can check it out. Here, otherwise all the 8 bits will be the opcode itself and implied operand. So either the 8-bit opcode with the implied operand, or 6, or you can say out of 8, 5 bits are opcode and 3 bits are register code. Okay, this is the first type of that 6 general instruction formats. So first is 1 byte instruction format. The examples of these are, the structure will be like this. And one good example in the instruction itself, if you want it, I have told you earlier also, CLI instruction is a good example of this. CLI instruction, or even INC AX, as earlier one more instruction I have told you. increment AX. So these two type of instructions, whether it is CLI or increment AX, both comes into this category where the size of that instruction will be 1 byte only. Here the REG field, you can check it out now. REG field is a 3-bit code which is given to each register of 8086. Okay, so here you can find that one. When the byte operations are there, W bit is 0, REG codes, AL is coded with 000, CL is coded with 001, DL is coded with 010, BL is coded with 011, and so on. You can find out. These are the 8-bit registers: AL, CL, DL, BL, AH, CH, DH, BH. Okay, from 0, 3-bit binary 0 till 3-bit binary 7. Okay, and the next column contains when W is equal to 1. When W is equal to 1, the operand size is 16 bits, 2 bytes, word. Okay, so here you can check it out. Again, the 3-bit code REG means 000 for AX, 001 for CX, and so on. The 111 for DI. Getting it? So in the instruction, the register, whenever you are writing, that register also will be coded into a 3-bit code. And along with the W, it will understand whether the operation is about 1 byte or 2 bytes. If it is 1 byte, we'll be having the registers of 8 bits only. 1 byte registers. AL, BL, CL, DL, and AH, BS, CS, DH. And when the W bit is 1, it's a byte operation. And that time you can check it out. The 2 byte registers, that is 16-bit registers of 8086. AX, CX, DX, BX, SP, BP, SI, DI, all are coded with this REG code of 3-bit. Okay. It is a first operand. Always remember that in general structure we have seen that operation and operands. Operands will be again 2, first operand and second operand. That means suppose an addition. Okay, for first number of the additive operation and second number of additive operation. For multiplication, suppose multiplicand and multiplier. So 2 operands will be there. So REG field talks about the first operand. And second operand will be talked about in R/M field. That also we will check it out. R/M field, either register or memory. That means the second operand could be either in register or it could be in a memory. Some special cases it will be a raw data which is called as immediate data. Okay, so one by one we will see this on. So here is a second type of instruction format where the operation is going on between registers, one register to another register. So for that purpose, first byte will be the opcode, including having that W and D bits. The second byte will be these 3 fields as I told you. In this one, 3 fields. First field is mode field, MOD field actually, this particular thing. But that MOD field here it is 11 to show that the mode is register mode. This R/M is also a register. This 11 is written in mode field. You'll see the mode table. Mode is a 2-bit code. It can be 00, 01, 10, 11. All the different structures of the mode code will tell you more about this field. Whether this field will contain the operand from memory, or it will contain an operand from register, or it will be immediate data. That is decided in this mode field. So for now you have to understand, if the mode field 2-bit code is 11, then this R/M is also a register. So that means there is an operation between one register content with another register content. So it's a 2-byte long thing. First byte code consists of the operation code, opcode, and second byte consists of 3 fields, that is mode field, register field, and R/M field. And here REG field indicates the register name, R/M indicates whether the source or destination operand is located in the register or memory, and when the mode bit is 11, it indicates that R/M is the register. Okay. So here you can see when mode bit is 11, R/M field again same works as your earlier seen register coding. Okay, when mode bit is 11, R/M also is REG, same as REG, and codes are as this. Okay, code for R/M field for W equal to 0 is, for AL it is 000, for W equal to 1, if it is for AX it is 000, and so on. This first half part of the left part of this table talks about r/m field when that is acting as a register, and it will r/m field will act as a register only in the case of mode bit as 1 1. Okay, the other three combinations of mode bits are, you can see here, mode is either 0 0 or 0 1 or 1 0. In that case, r/m field is actually a memory address. R/m field is actually a memory address. Now that memory address is contained where? Where exactly the memory address is there? So whether it is in BX plus SI, it is called as base index addressing mode. Even this one is base index addressing mode. Here the index register is SI and here the index register is DI. Next is it with BP and SI? Again base index addressing mode. See here, base registers are of two base registers we have it. Either BX base register general purpose or BP base pointer, and two index registers we have it, SI and DI. So all these different combinations, BX plus SI, BX plus DI, BP plus SI, BP plus DI are indexed only. Okay, SI alone, DI alone, or base register BX alone, or direct address. These all will come into this mode 00 field. So for r/m field code, for r/m field when mode equal to 00, for BX plus SI is 000. So this code applies to all which is there in the first row, depending upon the changing values of mode, whether mode MOD is 00, 01, 10, or in this case 11. Okay, about this one, again we will come to know and clearly understand while talking about the addressing modes, specific addressing modes. When we check it, we'll get to know about this. Here, the next register 2 from memory with no displacement. There is no displacement. Displacement you can check it out here in the earlier slide. So here, this D8, it is written here in this 8-bit displacement it is about. And there it is D16 written, it's a 16-bit displacement. So instruction format with no displacement is what it is given in this particular slide. Instruction format with no displacement is been given in this particular slide. Instruction 2 from memory address with no displacement. The structure is similar to the earlier one, but in the earlier one, r/m field was acting as a register because of this mode bit 1 1. But in this mode bit is not 1 1, it could be anything 0 0, 0 1, 1 0. So in that case, r/m field will be a memory. So register or memory when it is there, for the three first combination of mode bit 0 0, 0 1, 1 0, that r/m field will be a memory address, and for the mode bit combination 1 1, r/m field will be a register. Okay, that table earlier shown should give you the clear understanding about the whole concept here. R/m field registers and r/m field as memory addresses. These are all memory addresses. When something is written in bracket, the register written in bracket here, that means the content of that register is acting as an address and not data. Here you see that there is no bracket over here. Even while writing the program also, for any instruction, in any instruction, if you are writing a square bracket around any register, square brackets around any register, then that time the content of that register will be considered as a address. So it can be SI, DI, BX, BP, and a number also. Suppose some number 1, 2, 3, 4 H I am writing. When it is written without the brackets around it, that number will be treated as a data. And when I write 1, 2, 3, 4 H again, but this time I'll put the square brackets around it, that time that 1, 2, 3, 4 H will not be considered as a data, but it will be considered as a 16-bit displacement address. Displacement address is similar to of your offset address of your data. So it will consider that 16 bits as offset address of data and go to the corresponding memory location with the help of a segment register, and whatever the data is there at that address offset 1, 2, 3, 4 will be taken for the data operation. Okay, so addition of two things, when the one thing is given as 1, 2, 3, 4 in brackets, that time the data content at that 1234 address will be taken and not the 1234 itself. So the brackets around anything makes that thing to be indicating a address. So the r/m field from this particular instruction format, you can check it out, it will be a memory address, because here the mode can be 00, 01, 10, and obviously when it becomes 11, it becomes as the previous instruction format, register to register. Okay. So mode fields are this one: 00, there is no displacement; 01, there is an displacement with the signed extension of 16 bits, and when it is 10, there is a lower order and higher order displacement with no sign indication. That means basically here it's 8-bit displacement and 16-bit sign extended displacement, and here it is the 16-bit displacement. The whole number is a 16-bit displacement number only of a 2 bytes thing. And when this mode bit is 1 and 1, the r/m field becomes a reg field. R/m becomes a reg field. So coding becomes the same as what is there followed for reg field. Okay, r/m field is 3-bit code. Reg is also a 3-bit code. So when this mode bit is 0, r/m, which is a source operand, the second operand. Okay, first operand is destination, second operand is source. So source operand becomes also same as a register. A 3-bit code reg can be given to it. So the next is register to from memory with the displacement. So with the displacement, again it can be 8-bit displacement or 16-bit displacement. So you can see here this is a 3-byte instruction format, but here this one is a 4-byte instruction format, because here the displacement is of 2 bytes. In the earlier, displacement is only of 1 byte. Okay, the next thing is immediate operand to register. So here operation is written, destination, the first operand is destination operand and followed by the source operand. Whenever your source operand is neither the register content nor the memory content, neither reg nor r/m, that time we consider that one as an immediate operand. So that immediate operand, when it is there, depending upon the size of immediate operand, whether the immediate operand is of 1 byte data or a 2 byte data, these two instruction formats will be there. In the first one here will be the 3-bit instruction format. In the second one it will be a 4-bit instruction format. Okay, and the last category here it is that immediate operand to the memory with a 16-bit displacement. So here, depending upon the immediate operand size, whether it will be 1 byte or 2 byte, this instruction size could be a 5 byte or a 6 byte in length. Size of this instruction could be 5 bytes or 6 bytes in length. You can check it out here. Opcode will be there. Then this mode reg rm field will be there, followed by your immediate operand and 16-bit displacement. Okay, the first 2 bytes will be your information about the opcode, mode, r/m field, and the next 2 bytes could be upon your the immediate data or the displacement, and the next 2 bytes will be for immediate data. See, this is the general structure. Opcode is there, D/W bit is there, mode 3-bit mode, 2-bit mode is there, 3-bit reg is there, 3-bit rem, r/m is there. When it is given something like this, how do we code that one to binary? Okay, for this one we'll take one example and check it out. Here in this example you can see that move BL, IL, one instruction is given where the content of AL has to be moved into BL, because the first operand is destination operand, second operand is source operand. Now opcode for MOV instruction is 10010. 10010 is the opcode for move instruction. So every instruction of 8086 will have a dedicated fixed opcode. It will be there in the knowledge of assembler, because assembler is translating this instruction into the binary. So assembler will know that when it sees MOV, it will translate that one into as 10010. Okay, and here AL is used, so obviously W bit will be indicating that it's a 8-bit operation, so W bit will be 0, and AL field is a source operand, so here D is equal to 0. AL field is a source operand, so D equal to 0, and REG code for AL is 000. Earlier we have seen this one, and R/m code for BL, because this time the mode bit will be 11 automatically, because the operation is between register to register. Mode bit will be 11, and R/m field becomes REG field, and REG code 011 it is for BL. You can later go back to that previous table and check it out. R/M for BL is 011. Now that code is written as opcode as 1000106 bits of opcode, 1 bit D 0, 1 bit W 0, mode bit is 11, REG field is 00, R/M field is 011. So the whole thing taken into thing, move BL comma AL will be giving you 1000 1000 11 00 00 11. So that will be written in hexadecimal as 883C hexadecimal. Similar, two more examples are given here. Same way they are also been coded. So add is there here. Add code is 000000. The code for add operation is opcode for add operation is 000000, and then followed by the SI code and then AX code, and that is it. This is how the coding it is done in the code conversion from assembly language to the code, binary codes, opcodes. It is done in this way, and this whole process it is done by the assembler, because assembler translate our instructions into the binary. For a reference, these are all the different grouping of addressing modes. But anyhow, we'll talk about this in the next class. Thank you. See you in the next session. Bye.